So first question is to someone who doesn't have a financial professional on their side, like they don't have a financial advisor, a wealth manager, an investment consulting, they don't have any of those professionals. Um, Tell me what are the benefits of hiring one, and also the difference between those types of professionals to someone who doesn't really have a good idea.
Yeah, good question, and it can be really confusing, right? So let's start off backing up and talking about definitions. So a financial advisor is rather a ubiquitous term in the industry, unfortunately. It's used to identify a wide variety of professionals who assist clients on many disciplines, but are most likely associated with insurance and investment brokers, right? So they're very specific to trying to, in most cases, sell you some type of product, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they're focused on smaller segment of disciplines. A wealth manager is a little bit broader in that we discuss more than one discipline, but are most likely discussing one or two, mainly insurance and investment planning, maybe estate planning is another one. And I'm going to change this, and we could talk about why they're a little bit different in a minute. And then there's the investment advisor. So the investment advisor is very specific, and you can't hold yourself out to be one legally without holding appropriate credentials. After the Great Depression, the government said we need to make sure that we have people who are highly educated in specific investment advice, and make sure that they're held to be more accountable in their fiduciaries. So there's examination, continuing education requirements, background requirements, and they are regulated by a state securities division or the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. So now is going to be a little bit more of a blur of that line over about 11 or 12 days ago. FINRA, which is the organization that administers the tests for brokers, and then the SEC came together and said, we need to make sure people understand what they're actually getting when you have two hats. And I came out with this rule called Regulation Best Interest, or Reg BI for short. So with it, it's a document that's going to be presented to all consumers, and it's going to allow you to understand what they do and what they don't do, so that there's no confusion, even though there's some industry people that are trying to make sure that.
Can you mention the document again?
It's called Regulation Best Interest.
Okay, and is that a document that someone can just Google and find?
Yes, so at your broker's or investment advisor's website, there's a form called Form CRS. And what it does is it goes over what type of clients that they have, whether they're a brokerage client or an investment or advisory client, and the limitations on the guidance or advice that they give. So you're really there. So those are the main two most people are familiar with: financial advisor, wealth manager, and investment advisor. And then there's financial planning. So the Certified Financial Planning Board of Standards, which has been around for about 30 years now, defines financial planning as a collaborative process that helps maximize the client's potential for meeting life goals through financial advice that integrates relevant elements of the client's personal financial circumstances. So it is the broadest. For over 30 years, they've provided this Certified Financial Planning mark, and this is the highest standard of fiduciary advice and planning in the industry. So to hold the mark, you have to achieve the 4 E's, what we call them. So 4 E's are education, examination, experience, and ethics. So you have to have a bachelor's. You also have to have a course completed in multiple disciplines, from education planning, risk management, insurance, investment planning, tax planning, retirement planning, employee benefits, and estate planning. And then you have to have 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years. So once you go through that rigorous training and education, there's a 2-day, 10-hour comprehensive that I actually had to go through that put together all of these concepts and made sure that we were aware of how they actually interact with an individual situation. And then you have to have experience. So you have to have 6,000 hours currently in professional experience, or 4,000 hours under an apprenticeship with a known certified financial planner, who watches you as you go through engagements. And then last but not least, there's ethics. So you have to make sure that you're abiding by highest ethical standards and practice management. And there's a lot of training around how do you manage these relationships, which is unique in my type of environment.
No, that's awesome. In real estate, we also have similar things, not as strict. I wish they were more strict or of higher standards, but that's a whole nother conversation. Um, so for someone who, let's say, someone who has money, right, and wants to know, okay, how should they allocate their money? Who should they go to?
It depends on your level of understanding and involvement that you want to be within the discussion. So taking a step back, I'll give you an analogy. I love analogies, right? Let's say that you're going to be cooking a barbecue next week, and in that barbecue, you go to the butcher and you go ahead and you ask, hey, what's on sale right now? And your butcher's going to tell you, all right, we have these steaks. They're really, really good. We just pull them in. We have some franks, some sausages right here. They're not going to tell you to say, look at how much meat you bought and how much meat you eat every day. And you know what, you're eating too much. You need to go ahead and go to the fishmonger because you got too high of a cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative is to take that subject and say, all right, go to the dietitian, and the dietitian goes through all of these questions with you. They review everything that's about about health, and they say, based on your information that you've given to us, this is what I suggest you get. So a lot of people are going with the butcher expecting that they're a dietitian, and that's the difference between having a broker versus having a financial fiduciary or a financial planner, certified financial planner. So it's not necessarily a negative. If I go to my broker, I know what's in my best interest, and I know what's relevant and most important thing in me. My time, I think I'm educated enough to make that decision for me. And some people might be educated enough to weigh what is most important for them. And then I pay my broker for them to execute a trade and for them to go and help me with that one particular issue. So it's based on how much you want to be involved in evaluating which right and what's the most appropriate for you in your life at this time versus expediency. So if you want expediency, then you go to a broker, whether it be insurance broker or investment broker. Or if you're wanting something that's more comprehensive, so we know whether or not investing is going to be more important than putting money away for education for your children, or buying an insurance policy of a certain amount is more important than putting extra money in your 401k. So there's a difference in how we tackle those
So
questions.
if it's the latter, who do I go to? If I kind of don't know
Mhm.
how to structure and what are the effects that are going to have on my finances down the line, who is that person that I have that conversation with?
I'm a strong advocate for certified financial planners.
Okay. Okay. So
Right.
not to backtrack or be redundant, but when should I go to a financial planner?
I think it starts there. You get a plan. It's kind of hard to figure out where you're going without a plan. All right. So you start there. You get an understanding of what's important in your life through the conversation with your planner. It's a collaborative effort, and then they will tell you or make a recommendation on all the areas and facets of your life, whether your insurance planning, your investment planning, tax planning, estate planning, and it from there they'll either implement those recommendations for you or provide you with resources so that you can implement them on your own. I just so happen to own a registered investment advisory and financial planning firm called Gamma Wealth Management. And through that relationship, you can start where you feel comfortable. You can have us give you recommendations just on financial planning topics unrelated to investments, a combination of the two, or you can have full turnkey investment management at discretion where we're giving you the financial planning component and also managing your investments with.